और 22
All right, let's now go across to our panelists. I'm joined in now by international affairs expert Patikrit Pine and Shekhar Vijayan, political analyst, will also be joining us. I'll start with you, Patikrit. What's your take on the entire issue to begin with? What happened in Parliament when Rahul Gandhi was giving his address? What happened when opposition joined him and the government responded, Kiran Rijiju? How do you see the entire issue and everything that has happened afterwards, with Sambit Patra giving a press conference and now Rahul Gandhi giving his?
Well, in any kind of, in any parliamentary democracy, debates within the parliament are healthy, and the opposition has every right to ask questions to the treasury. But unfortunately, over the last few years, we have seen how the quality of the discourse has tremendously, becomes low. And today, what we witnessed, the kind of statements that was made by taking a connotation of that, as if Mr. Gandhi was speaking to somebody who said about there are three kinds of people: students, idiots, and andhaks. I think this is the reason why they are not getting votes. I mean, you want to say that anybody who has not voted your party is an idiot or an andhabhakt. So somebody who supports the abrogation of Article 370, somebody who believes that India should be free from terrorism, somebody who believes that all Indians should have the same law, somebody who believes in Atmanirbhar Bharat, somebody who believes that India's civilizational ethos should be, respected, that person you call is andhabhakt. That person is called an idiot. I mean, this kind of discourse we have never heard before. We have seen during the entire so-called student protest, which I don't think is actually a student protest. There was something else going on in the pretext of that protest. The kind of, sexually expletives, abuses that were used, the kind of language that was used, the kind of placards and, posters that were made, which had nothing to do with the NEET exam. 95% of the people who were there would not even know what the full form of NEET is. And keeping them in the front, somebody wanted major violence in this country. Somebody wanted to storm the parliament, either to burn it down, as it happened in case of Nepal, or to ensure that students die so that politics of a higher level can be done. And then we saw what was done by the likes of Meta through Instagram, and even blocking the video and the post of Prime Minister of India. So we are in the middle of what we call cognitive warfare. We are in the middle of a fifth generation warfare. Yes, there are challenges. Yes, there are issues. And the issues, anybody has the right to raise those issues. Okay. But when you have violence of that sort, then that is justified, that is not acceptable. Within the parliament, the kind of statement that has been made by Mr. Rahul Gandhi today, I am not holding a brief for the treasury. So Mr. Sambit Patra or whatever, whoever else gave press conference, that is their call. But I, as an honest tax-paying voter, felt humiliated and insulted. And I don't think anybody, whether it is Mr. Gandhi or somebody else, has the right to question this way. Even when Prime Minister was Manmohan Singh of this country, I may have had political differences with what he believed in. I would have always respected him and would have never doubted the integrity of people who voted for him. That is what democracy, parliamentary democracy is all about. Just because you are not getting votes doesn't mean that people who voted...
Shekhar, are you also of the opinion that Rahul Gandhi owes an apology? His words have already been expunged.
Yeah, I think the larger picture is whenever a discussion happens in the parliament, the level of decorum, the words used are very, very, very unsavory, very ungentlemanly. It's not becoming. They are in the parliament for a particular reason. I'm not just talking about Rahul Gandhi, but also everybody who's involved in this. We are the taxpayer. We are paying money for this, and after a long time, this parliament session is happening. They have to understand that they're being watched, and they cannot be using, be it Rahul Gandhi or anyone else, they cannot be using words like this, which are not, which are very cheap, I would say. And I think ultimately what matters here is what is the students' protest all about? How are we discussing and deliberating on this? What are the reforms like? And what does the student get out of it? That should be the outcome. I think there needs to be a proper outcome out of this. There needs to be a discussion, no doubt. But more than the discussion, we need to look beyond the theatrics of it and understand what will happen out of this. What is the outcome? They cannot be using Gen Z logo and using various logos like Delulu or any other words which are being used. If you're trying to be relevant to the youth, you can be relevant to the youth by coming up with a solution. You cannot be just discussing, deliberating, and just taking the issue somewhere else. I think in the case of Rahul Gandhi, he just took the discussion in another manner. Even the words used was very unsavory, was not correct at all. But I also believe that the parliament is a place where we discuss this. The parliament is the temple of democracy, and we have not seen a proper discussion happening at all. Both the central government and both opposition are at loggerheads with each other. If anything happens, there is a stopgap. I think the speaker has to really make sure this happens. They have to also ensure that people are watching them. The elected representatives are being watched. And at the end of the day, it's people like us who are discussing this because we want a solution out of it. Otherwise, you will have more protests like this, which will have no outcome. At the end of the day, the students have suffered and they need a solution out of it. Not just reforms, but what is the government really doing in terms of a dashboard? What is the outcome out of it? They've created a very good task force, which has got some very interesting people and very distinguished people on the task force. But is the government giving more information about it, or just creating a task force and that's about it? Because in today's day and age, it's not just about accountability, it's also about responsibility, it's also about taking ownership. If they had taken ownership in the first place, you wouldn't have had the protest. Whether it's politically motivated or not politically motivated, the protest happened for a particular reason. So the government really has to make sure they really walk the talk here, and the opposition should also be questioning them, but question them in the right way, by not making it cheap, by not differentiating between different people here and making it sound very ungentlemanly. This is not the spirit of the parliament. This is not how the parliament is spoken about. We have had parliament sessions in the past too, where Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee has been there, where Indira Gandhi has been there, where Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru has been there. Now, what we're seeing, the discussions happens, they don't follow a particular etiquette. There is no language, proper language being used. There is no public speaking skills being used.
All right, sure. Okay, let's get to the core issue now. What Rahul Gandhi may have said in Parliament, he said it and it's escalated also. We've had the bill that has been passed in Lok Sabha today. So it's passed the Lok Sabha test. That's done. But what about the attack that was made on protesting students or whosoever it was? Do you think an independent probe is required, Patikrit?
For almost 2 weeks, there were protests going on in Jantar Mantar. Police did not go there to attack anybody. I don't think police has any intention to attack the students. They never did so. And by the way, these are the same policemen who have passed exams. They are law-abiding people like themselves. They were students once upon a time. It is the students and people in the pretext of the student movement who went and wanted to barge into the parliament. Now, what are the policemen supposed to do? The policemen were being, barged, they were actually being rained with bricks. They were being pepper spray being put on them. If you have seen the videos of the number of cars and vehicles that have been damaged by the so-called students. Now, these policemen were the last bastion. After this, it would have been the gates of the parliament. You wanted the students to go to the gate of the parliament where the rules of engagement are very clear, that if anybody without authorization enters, the security forces are permitted to actually shoot. Now, either somebody wanted the students to die, or they wanted the parliament to be burned down, as it happened in case of Nepal. So the policemen, at least on 3 occasions, the policemen were on the verge of being lynched by the mobs. What do you have to say about that? Are the policemen there to get beaten up? If tomorrow a terror attack happens, are these so-called cockroaches going to help save the country? For me, the Gen Z are the people who are fighting and winning medals for India in the Commonwealth Games. Anahat Singh, she is 18-year-old. She won the Junior World Squash Championship. She is a Gen Z. So those people, there are more than 2,500 criminals with history of criminal records. What were they doing there in the name of this so-called student protest? And if police take actions against them, you will call it that there is police excess. I do not buy that argument at all. This is a typical agenda to demoralize and weaken the country's internal security architecture, so that tomorrow, if they try to do what was done in Nepal and Bangladesh, nobody dares to stop them, because the police will feel so demoralized that they will not do anything. Police is there to get beaten up by criminals. The criminals are not going to decide the benchmark of what is to be done. And the Supreme Court has made it very clear. People with history of criminal records, action will be taken against them who were present in those places and were doing all kinds of things. Do you think any law-abiding student who actually wants to give a government exam, whether it is NEET or IIT JEE, will deliberately go and attack the policemen, knowing that there will be an FIR against them? No. So somebody else was doing it, or somebody brainwashed the students to get it done so that tomorrow their careers get ruined. That is the question that we must ask. Do you think a law-abiding, a good student who will appear for a NEET exam tomorrow will actually do some of these elements we're doing there, showing the private parts to the journalists, female journalists, by branding them as Godi media? Is that what a protest is all about? There are placards that were shown there which were abusive of everybody, including the Prime Minister of the country. Is that the way you do a protest? If you have logic in your protest, you don't need abusive language. If you have logic in your protest, you don't need to be violent. You are not supposed to get into the parliament area. I'm sure many of you have gone to the parliament. If you enter the parliament, there are 4 layers of checking. These students wanted to get into the parliament without any kind of, that nobody should stop them. And then somebody will burn it down. So this entire logic that police did excess, what is the police supposed to do? Garland them when they were actually kicking, beating, raining them with stones, and they were on the verge of getting inside the parliament. What do we want? Do we want a state without policemen?
All right, Patikrit, we hear you, but for now I'll have to interrupt you and take a very quick break. Viewers, we'll be right back. Stay tuned for more.